KILR Killer Game.
Hello gamers, simmers, and pilots. I am the Killer Gamer and welcome to the World Tour featuring Microsoft Flight Simulator 3. This episode was brought to you in part by Synonym Coca-Cola. Just for the taste of it. No sponsor. I just happened to pick this up today and limited edition. Actually, they should do this more often because it's pretty darn good. Definitely not healthy, but holy crap, this is good. You could use, I was thinking just, get some Coke and sprinkle some cinnamon in there. Cinnamon, not synonym. Cinnamon. But my daughter was saying that no, that won't work, but if you use cinnamon extract, that might actually work a little better. So that'd be an interesting little experiment. Maybe take like a bottle of Coke and see how much cinnamon extract it would take to, because you don't need sugar, right? It's already in here, so the cinnamon would just be for the flavor. But great idea, man. Tastes awesome. And something else that is awesome is the flight that we got going on today. So let's talk about that. So we are here at Chicago O'Hare, and we are going to be flying across Lake Michigan into Michigan and going to Benton Harbor, which is right along the coast here. But before we do that, we're going to be flying south around Chicago Midway, and then we're going to be making a 180-degree turn, and we're going to do another touch and go at Meigs, but this time we're going to be touching down on runway 36, same direction that you would look when first starting Flight Simulator, the default takeoff position. Now what this is going to enable us to do is see the Chicago area as it's depicted in scenery disc number 9. So you'll get to see Midway, you'll get to see Meigs, and how that looks with this scenery disc. And then from here we will turn and make our way to Benton Harbor, because once we leave, we're not going to be back over here for a very long time. So that's why this episode's going to be pretty important. So once we make the 180-degree turn and head out, basically all we need to do is tune in to KILR at a, let's see, the runway's right there. So I keep thinking 9 will do it, but maybe 8.4 or something. Yeah, we'll say like 8.5, 8.4, somewhere around there. And then Chicago O'Hare being right there. Yeah, all we need to do here is pick up on the 090 radio here. That will just get us off in the right direction until we can link up with, because we won't see the distance on this one just yet. So once we get into range, then we can adjust ourselves to line up with what we want here. And South Bend, here's the other thing too. South Bend, we can tune in at 330 to give us an idea of how close we're going to be to the airport, because KILR is about 10 miles away. So by using South Bend we'll know, okay, we're getting close. It's, time to descend and get ready for landing. So all little references that we can use in regards to our flight. All right, let's go ahead and get everything started. We'll go and tune in our radios as we're moving. I know typically you don't want to do that, but I just kind of want to get going also. Let's see, Benton is, what was it, 116.6. And we're set here. Go ahead and change our VOR radio, Control V2. We'll set that to 90. And for OBI number 1, set that to 8486. Okay, there we go. I think the way to the runway is right over here. Yeah, I can see the turn off here. Okay, this is the taxiway. I think it looks like an awfully big taxiway. The runway's right over there, so yeah, this has got to be the man, that's a big taxiway. Look at this. Either that or it's not completely drawn out. I don't think it's completely drawn out for night. I think there's a line missing over here. It's a long ways to this runway. It's like way down here. After I get done with this one, I'm going to work on some Flight Simulator 95 videos. And then I'll be working on Fly 2K. It's like, ooh, quick! We can take off and catch that 090 radial. I think this is the end here. This taxiway looks bigger than the actual runway. Yay! Finally! Why is part of this outlined in white? That should be a blue line right there. And the runway should be outlined in white. Well, we've got it. At least the runway is filled in over here. We didn't see it at night like this. It was transparent. Whew, I guess this is a big runway. Okay, let's take off. We're going to keep our landing gear down. Since we're going to be doing that touch and go. And there's the control tower. Almost looks like something out of Tron with the blue and the orange. Okay, we'll turn this way and start heading over to Midway. Nope, that might be a little too far that way. Heading should be about right. There's downtown Chicago. Hey, and it's daytime. The Big Daddy O'Hare. That's it right over there. Now, the interesting thing about Chicago Midway that I've kind of discovered is that it's missing the third runway, the runway 31. So it's got like it's got two of them. There should be a 31 right, left, and a 31 center. And maybe they didn't have, maybe center wasn't there before. No, actually I think center was there, because center is the one that's really long. I think they added 31 left. That's a really small runway. So I don't know if what we're seeing for Midway is how it was in the 80s. We're going to be changing the ground texture also. I've been using dots for the majority of the series, and I started thinking, why don't we use the dots like around cities, or like especially at night, to simulate, you know, little lights in a city, and then use the actual, you know, the big rectangles or small rectangles or whatever for the daytime, to simulate, you know, big farmlands or whatnot. I mean, we gotta use a little bit of imagination with these simulators. So it's kind of like, you know, it's a toy, you know, taking a toy and using some imagination and getting more out of it. Just making sure we didn't pass Midway. Yeah, that's it. Now this was kind of odd looking on the other simulators because the taxiways, like some of it was filled in, others was just a line, and I'm pretty sure this is going to look the same. So we'll take a look at that here in a moment. Okay, so we're roughly facing the reciprocal of 31, but do you notice how there is this one on this side? This is 31, was it 3113 center right there? But the little one next to it is missing. So did they add that one later? Okay, now take a look here. Do you see how some of it's a line and others of it is filled in? Now the runways are filled in, so that's good. It's not just outlined in white. Yeah, but see, you can see it right there. How it's just unfinished. Yeah, the other runway here is missing. I don't know when they built that runway. Oh well, we can't see anything that way, so. Okay, and that little line right there is going to be Meigs. So we'll go ahead and start our turn. Landing gear's already down. Let's drop some flaps. Will help us slow down a little bit. Gonna lower another thing of flaps here. Hey, KILR has tuned in, 72 miles away. So Scenery Disc 9 adds a lot more roadways, interstates in this area than before. Okay, I see Meigs right there. It almost looks like a airplane, you know, an aircraft carrier is what it almost looks like. Go. Coming around here. Now this looked absolutely awful on the Commodore 64. The buildings were like leaning one way and it was just very ugly looking. The Amiga version was okay. Resolution wise, this is definitely the best one. And I've already seen what this looks like on USA East. Yeah, USA East for Chicago looks really good. Trying to get us lined up over here. Come on. There we go. Full power. We're off. Landing gear up. Give ourselves some altitude and we'll start raising our landing gear. Whoa, 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 what's happening here? Hey, we'll just get the whole, we'll just take all the flaps up. My goodness, what was that all about? Okay, so there's Meigs. Get a good look at Chicago. Do a spot plane. We'll have to change the view here. What would the spot plane? I don't know, right about there. Go back in here, change it some more. Yeah, right about there. We'll make the altitude. Oh, nope, not negative. We'll say 20. Change a little bit more. We'll move it right about there. There we go. And it looks like we may not have to use the Chicago VOR after all. Because we're beginning to line up with the KILR. Not killer, but KILR. Yeah, we'll go ahead and turn. See, we can use our instruments to fly, and we can still see our plane as it turns. That's pretty cool. Nothing but blue. And 65 miles. So we are going to use our autopilot, which I think is already set for 4,000, but let's take a look. Yep, already set for 4,000. So we can just do this master autopilot on off. Turn that on, and we will let the simulator do the work for us. Take a look back at Chicago and Meigs. Take care, guys. It's been fun. We got all new adventures ahead of us now. All new cities to see. Yeah, we got some fun times ahead here. And we're leveled out at 4,000 thanks to our autopilot, and can sit back and relax and praise the aviation gods that we didn't stall and crash at Meigs, because I thought we were. That was weird. That was so weird. We have full throttle, the landing gear was up, and it was wanting to stall. I knew the flaps were down, but I didn't have that kind of problem in the C-64 and the Amiga. I just waited till we got to a certain altitude, just, you know, high enough to, and then brought the flaps up, and this one just didn't even want to give me a chance. Okay, South Bend, 115.4. Go ahead and change that. And we want this to be 330. Let's see, Control V2. And there we go. So when this needle comes here to the center, we best be on our way down to the airport. Southern part of Lake Michigan. The northern part of Lake Michigan. It's funny and it's sad. So, like with the map, you know, we can fly. Yeah, sure. We can fly all the way to the top here. We can fly all in these areas. There's just no scenery. There's no airports, no VORs, no nothing. You know, heck, we can even fly through Canada. But there's nothing. I mean, there's nothing that we can do. We can fly along the Mississippi River, at least part of the way. There's going to be a whole, you know, there's a whole bunch here that's not covered by the scenery disc, because this is scenery disc number 8 and it's missing. It's gone, never made. But at least some of it we can actually fly. You know, and the rest of it is just, you know, part of this basic shape. Go ahead and turn that off. It's all getting small now. You can see a couple of buildings, a black stick. Kind of sad in a way. You know, we were flying, you know, in this area. You know, sure, we went over to Iowa a little bit and up to Wisconsin, but we were still in this area. And now we are crossing Lake Michigan. And we're seeing, I don't want to say all new stuff, but I think you know what. I mean, do you know what I mean? It just feels like we're just leaving home behind. Home is back there. And now adventure is ahead of us. Yeah, I know, it's silly. Flight Simulator 4 and the later ones have already started going on that adventure, because they went all the way up to Duluth and Houghton, Michigan, and so they're getting ready for the big cross into Canada. All new country. We don't have that luxury here. Well, actually, we do a little bit. Scenery disc number 11 has a little bit of Canada. They have just a few Canadian airports, so we will get to actually go into Canada, but not very far. Well, let's get back to our book. The book of important stuff. Flying the single-engine aircraft, or the Cessna. The single-engine aircraft simulation attempts to simulate accurately the actions and responses of a real aircraft. The Flight Simulator 2 aircraft is closely patterned after a Cessna Turbo Skylane RG retractable gear 2, basically a 182 with retractable landing gear, turbocharged engine, and other performance modifications. I've always loved the Cessna Skylane with the retractable gear. And I wound up buying a couple, like from like Coronado, so that way I could, you know, on the later simulator, so that way I could have something. Some of the engine and prop control complexities are not included in the simulation. They do later. A2A, AccuSim. For more information about the aircraft's performance specifications, see Appendix A, Performance Specs. Let's look at Appendix A. Oh, Microsoft Product Assistance Request. We have a glossary. Appendix. Oh, that's keyboard summary. Joystick setup. Using a mouse. Aha! Okay, so the length is 28 feet. Height is 9 feet 3 inches. Wingspan 36 feet. Wing area 174 square feet. Max takeoff weight is 3,100 pounds. Empty weight 1,752 pounds. The maximum useful load 1,360 pounds. Maximum landing weight 3,100 pounds. Same as max takeoff weight. Wing loading 17.8 pounds per square feet. Power loading 13.2 pounds per horsepower. Maximum usable fuel 88 gallons or 526 pounds. Max rate of climb at sea level 1,050 feet per minute. Max rate of climb at 8,000 feet 455 feet per minute. Service ceiling 14,900 feet. Maximum speed 146 knots. Cruise 65% power at 8,000 feet is 133 knots. Endurance at 65% power, 7.5 hours. Stall speed clean, 54 knots. Stall speed flaps down, 49 knots. That's something we need to keep in mind when it comes to our landing. So a clean stall is around 54. With the flaps down, it's around 49. That basically just think 50. Turbulent air penetration speed, 110 knots. Landing gear, retractable tricycle steerable nose wheel. Oh, look at some of the specs were useful looking at it, I think. Flying under visual flight rule, VFR conditions. When you start Flight Simulator, you are facing north on the runway at Meigs Field. In case you didn't know, it's a small field on a peninsula extending into Lake Michigan, which is in Chicago. At least it used to be. Not anymore. The John Hancock building is on the horizon to your left. You will take off and climb out over Lake Michigan. You are lined up for immediate takeoff. The weather is fair. The sky is blue and the ground light green, indicating a clear day without a cloud in the sky. There are no winds. This is perfect weather for visual flight rule. VFR flying. When you fly VFR, you rely on ground references and the visible horizon for orientation and navigation. We're getting to the other side. There is a white line out there. That would be a road. Until you get off the ground, navigation is secondary to flight control. The most important instruments for your first VFR flight are the airspeed indicator and altimeter. You will use the other primary flight instruments as well as the aileron, rudder, elevator, and throttle position indicators. For your first flight, concentrate on what you see out the window and how it relates to altitude, airspeed, bank, and pitch attitude. Still got about 43 miles to go. Then we got getting familiar with the aircraft, sorry. Got takeoff, straight and level flight, turns, glides and descents, landing, refueling and servicing. And then there's flying the business jet. That's not very long. Then we got various settings. There are lessons here for doing aileron rolls and loops, the spin. There are the aerobatics. And there's the navigation course, using 2 VORs to locate your position. And then there's other parts like the World War I Ace and the crop dusting. Oh, man. Need a haircut. Oh, let's turn to 8-4. Looks like we're all set there. That's about right. Benton Harbor should show up as far as the city right about here, and the airport is right there. So we are on our way. And remember, it's probably about 10 miles away, so we're really only 29 miles away from the airport. That's why we got this tuned in right here. And looking behind us, it's like a distant memory. After a bit, when you don't see any movement on the scenery, you're almost wondering, did it crash? Did it freeze? I've had that happen before. The game was fine. The game didn't freeze, but the display was all frozen. It was bizarre. Weird glitch. So I managed to pick up PPT for Flight Simulator 4, which is the pilot's power tools, right? I've been wanting to get a copy of this, and now I have a copy of it. And I think it's like the copy I've already got. I've got kind of something that was part of a collection, and I didn't have an official copy, but now I do. And I couldn't get PPT to work, and I haven't tried it yet as far as maybe installing it from the actual disk, because with this I'll be able to create flight plans with Flight Simulator 4 and then turn those into adventures. And it was busted. It was not working. I had to program the adventures by hand. So hopefully if I can get that to work, I won't have to write it out completely by hand. I still got to go in there manually and put in all the stuff that I want, as far as simulating the pilot talking to ATC and the ATC talking back and adding in all the different chatter. Let's take a look at a map here. Benton Harbor, where are you? There you are. Sound like Trump. Ben. We used to grill hamburgers together. Ben, where are you? There you are. Okay, so that line that we're seeing right there, that is Interstate 94. That's what I was trying to look up. Go and pull this up on the screen so you can see it. So, here is Benton Harbor, and you can see the 94 comes around and comes along the coast pretty much. So that's what we're seeing. We'll see Benton Harbor. It'll be a polygon, but we'll see it here. Here's the airport. This is the one that we're going to be landing at, and we'll be landing on runway 10. Runway 10. It's called the Southwest Michigan Regional Airport. Well, at least that's what it's called now. They just called it Benton Harbor. They kept things simple. Simpler times. About adjusting my heading here, so I'm changing this over. There it is. That's the airport. So Benton should show up right about here, because there's the highway, interstate. So we should start to see something representing the city right there. Alright, we'll go ahead and turn autopilot off. And we'll just start a slow descent for right now. And there it is. There's Benton. And this just started to move. I don't know if you saw that. So since that just started to move, I think we are good to lower our landing gear. We'll drop a thing of flaps, and we will start our descent. I don't want it going down too quickly, though. can see how that's working out. The needle's about ready to cross over, and you know, like I said, this is a sign to us that we should be working our way down, and we are. Okay, Benton Harbor is 643 as far as the altitude. So let's keep that in mind when it comes to landing. So 20 minus 10 looks like we're about maybe 9 miles away. Still can't really make out much on the airport. We can see a runway obviously going this way. There's one that we're facing, but I think we're at a diagonal. I think it's right there. Let's move over a little bit. Sometimes you have to kind of look beyond the pixels and try to imagine, you know, okay, if you took a runway and really, or a picture or an image and try to shrunk it down to its very, very basic elements, would you be able to see it? And I can kind of see it. Yeah, right there. 1,500 as far as altitude. It's kind of slow our rate here a little bit. We've only got 1 degree of flaps, but I don't want to drop the second one just yet, because we are flying over Lake Michigan here. Ooh, what do we have here? Oh, those are the dots. That's right. Well, no, we're in the city. We'll keep it like that. So that works. We can change that when we get to when we start flying out from here. I thought maybe there were boats or something out in the water. I think we're almost centered. Okay, let's go ahead and I think we're good to drop the next thing of flaps here. right, here we go. Okay, and we got a little parking spot right over here to the left. I like to park into these little grass triangle areas here. Yeah, right about there. Good deal. Welcome to Benton Harbor, Michigan. We had that was an hour long, but I'd have to say this was a fun flight. This was along the lines of like flying VFR along the Mississippi River when we're going to La Crosse. This one, we're flying over one of the Great Lakes. We're leaving Chicago behind. You know, we got adventure ahead of us, and you know, nice landing here at Benton. So it's cool. I enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like. I'd appreciate that. And subscribe if you haven't already. It's a great thing. Let's all get together and let's build this community up that we have. And that notification bell, just give that a little ring there, and you will get notified when another video gets uploaded to this channel. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next leg of our adventure and journey, trek.